These are some other things that we found. This is a rifle bullet. You can see it's a little over an inch long. Obviously with these types of weapons we have to talk in inches. This belongs to a particular weapon called a Calishaw and Terry rifle. This one here is a .45 caliber bullet. It's a little bit smaller, you can see the measurements. You can just make out there was actually twine or cotton, some kind of tie in there, that what would happen is this bullet would be tied into a paper cartridge. So the cartridge would extend down here, it was full of gunpowder, and it was waxed. And then these would be put into the revolver. And the reason I mentioned it's waxed is because it was waxed with animal grease. And this particular bullet down here, we believe has been chewed by a small animal, most likely because it smelt good, because of the animal grease that was used to wax the paper. This here is called a percussion cap. This percussion cap is a technology used in firing these weapons. It would have had a little explosive charge in it, and when a hammer hit the top of it, the charge would pass through into the chamber and fire the bullet. So a lot of the artefacts we found were munition related. These are the 27 percussion caps that we found at the bottom of the pit, all clumped together. These are rifle ones. Because we were excavating by hand, we also found glass. We found 8 pieces of glass in total. A lot of them are very small, fine pieces of glass. But this one here in particular is very interesting. It's got a clearly beveled edge, and when you shine a light through it, it's a ruby red. We think it's a sun filter sextant. A sun filter from a sextant. The way that the sextants operated was they had shades that you could put over so that you didn't damage your eyes when you were looking directly at the sun. And the shades were generally red, green and blue. And we think that's one of those. So this is the diagnostic kind of stuff that we pulled out of the ground. The 2 pen nibs I spoke about, we could read the company name, Joseph Gillett, and also the pen type. It's a public pen and it's F. The issue with this particular pen is that the company started in 1827, so it doesn't give us a real lot of information in terms of dating. What we do know is the public pen F, the F stands for fine, and they were used for fine penmanship, but also for map makers, surveyors, those kind of people who needed the fine lines in their work. The second pen nib was by a company called T.J.&J. Smith of London. They started in 1839. Again, the date range isn't so great, but I've been in contact with that company, and they're going through their historical records, because initially when they started manufacturing, they manufactured pencils, mechanical pencils. So if we can get a date from them as to when they started manufacturing pen nibs, it'll help fine-tune our dating. The brass button we found is fantastic. We can clearly read the company name, Hardman and Iliffe. They were partners in this particular button company. They started in 1855 and they went their separate ways in 1860. So again, this one gives us a really good date range. The glass sun filter fragment suggests that a sextant was used at the site. The .345 caliber pistols, bullets relate directly to the weapons that we know were taken on the expedition through the historical records. Again, the rifle bullet matches the weapons that were taken on the expedition as well. This is a close-up of the 2 pen nibs. It'll be difficult to see, but you can see they're quite badly rusted. This one here, it's got Smith written up the top, I-T-H, and then this is London. I had our professional photographers upstairs take excellent close-up images, and using those images I was able to actually read the information on the pen nibs. This one here may be a little bit easier to see. There's a J, O, E, S, and it kind of peters out, but there's a H there. And then this is Gillett's, G-I-L-L-O-T-T-S, and that's a big F, and then there's a 2 and a 9 and a 2, and then down here it says public pen. There's a P-E-N. So this information is really useful in determining exactly what we're dealing with on the site. We've got some more close-ups of the other things. The 2 bullets which you've already seen. This is a backlit image of that particular piece of glass, the fragment from the sextant sun filter. You can see the really beveled edge. It's a beautiful piece of work, and it's red. And then the brass button. Here we've got H starting Hardman, and then there's the ampersand, Iliffe, and it says patented. So it's a 2-piece brass button. It's a decorative button basically. Now, we found stuff in June 2006, but other people had been visiting the site prior to that. And this is some of the more amazing things that they found. In particular, this glass artificial horizon at the top here. There's images of it in the media. I haven't seen it myself, but it's basically a hand-calibrated cylinder of glass. It's filled with clear water, and it was found by a metal detectorist who picked up the metal alloy case that it was in. That one is down in Melbourne at the moment in the State Library of Victoria. We've got brass button. I'll be doing some more work on trying to work out if we can date that particular button. That one's on loan to us at the moment. Also a pair of scissors and a key winder. Really odd things to be found in the middle of nowhere. Not something that your average drover may throw away. In total, when I look at the artefacts across the site and across the collections, vast majority, 110 percussion caps, lots of bullets. The screws are really interesting. They're ferrous screws, they're very tiny. They're the kind of screws that you would find in scientific instruments or in hinges associated with those boxes for the instruments. The hinges as well, non-ferrous, they don't rust, so they may be brass or copper alloy. Chronometers were taken on ocean-going vessels, so it may be that obviously they would need to have brass fittings as well. So it may be that we can tie a little bit more together with that. And the buckles we found, there's been 4 buckles found on the site. None of them are decorative. They're all D-shaped buckles, very ordinary. And the thing about the buckles is that the historical records tell us that a lot of the equipment was buckled onto the animals. So again, we're trying to draw links between what we found with historical information. So ultimately, what does it all mean? Well, at this point, when we look at the artefacts and we link those back to the history, and we look at the assemblage of everything that we've found from the site, it demonstrates a very strong link with Burke and Wills expedition. And in my mind, when we add the pit into that, it gives us evidence that it is the plant camp that we found. This collection, there's a number of collections down south. Our collection feeds in with that and gives us a really good overview of what was recovered from the site. And as you can see, by going out and having a close-up look at all the artefacts, it gives you a direct link with the things that we found. You can see them and come up with your own opinion about them. The thing that amazes me is when you see them in the cases, they're so tiny, and yet we're trying to draw all this information from those. And basically at the bottom here, it gives us an opportunity to tell our story, the Queensland story, which is the part of that story that fits in with the Burke and Wills in total. So with that, some acknowledgements. Thank you. I appreciate your attendance.